You get a cart. You get a cart. You get a cart. Everybody gets a cart. Okay, so we all have big green recycling carts. But what do we do with them? Is there a right or a wrong way to recycle? Stay tuned to find out. We'll be right back. Hi, and welcome to Wasting No Time on HTV. I'm your host, Sharon Moses. We are still flying high on the wings of our successful rollout of the 96-gallon recycling carts, and as you can see, we're still talking about it. So, okay, now what? So everybody has a cart. What do you do with it now that you have it? Believe it or not, there really is a right way to recycle. We want to talk about that today. In the studio is Ed Zilton. He's our Deputy Assistant Director of the Southwest Service Center. He's our resident recycling expert. He's here to tell us what we can and what we cannot put into those recycling carts. Ed, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me, Sharon.
So, is there a right way to recycle?
Yes, there is a right way to recycle all of our materials that are collected at the curb in our single-stream recycling.
Okay, what type of materials can go into these recycling carts?
We have several types of materials that are available to be recycled in the green carts. Anything from our plastic 1 through 5s and number 7s, our plastic bottles, our water bottles, our plate glass, our non-plate glasses, all of our jars, all of our wine glasses, flattened cardboard, chipboard, and of course our newspaper prints.
So how do you know what's going in the recycling carts as far as what's right and what's wrong? How do we know that the citizens are getting it right?
Okay, well, we have a couple of ways to look at that. First, at the front line, on the top of each cart, there's a label that tells you what type of materials are to be placed in the carts. Every 3 months, we have an audit with our vendor, and in that audit, we actually go line by line, segment by segment, and commodity by commodity, making sure that the right materials are placed in the audits.
So if you go into these audits, and I don't think that people knew that, people don't know that we're actually looking at what they're actually tossing away. So when you go into these audits and you look at the material, what are you looking for?
Well, we're looking for to make sure first that everything that was on the lid that's supposed to be in there, it's in there. Once the commodities are segregated and sorted by the vendors, we have a special place that we call, it's for our trash, our residuals. In those residuals, these are the trash contents that are taken from the recyclable materials. We look at them, we talk about them, we film them, we audit them also, so we can go back and educate our citizens on telling them what are the right things and the wrong things to be placed in the cart.
So with it being a right way and or a wrong way to recycle, if we're recycling right, then I'm assuming that's good for the city of Houston, correct? How does it help for us to get it right?
Okay, it helps for us to get it right in a couple of ways. One, with those residuals and trash, we have to actually pay for those, because once that's taken out of the stream, we have to pay for that disposal. But if we're near right or getting at least 100% right correctness on our type of materials, then we actually get paid for that, and that betters our bottom line when it comes to revenue.
And if we get it wrong?
If we get it wrong, we have to pay for it, and that's not one thing we want to stay with because we don't have a budget for that.
So we're either getting paid or we're not getting paid. We're either paying for it or we're receiving money for it. Is that what you're saying?
That's correct, right. The close that we get it right, we get money for it as we sell those commodities to our MRF and to our end users. But when we get a lot of trash and residue, we have to pay for that disposal.
And you said MRF, just for clarity, what does that mean?
A MRF is a material recovery facility. Those are the ones here in town that actually take all the single stream recycled materials and they process it for us.
So we're in the city of Houston is not processing the single stream material?
No, ma'am. We're only collecting it at the curb, and we then ship that material over to a MRF. The MRF then segregates, sorts the materials, bale it up, and then it's sent out and sold to the open commodities market.
So what happens if we're getting a lot of wrong material? How is that? I know we've asked that question, but how is that kind of, spell it out a little bit. We're looking at this, is it still recyclable material or is it now something else?
Some things that are in the stream that are recyclable, for instance, like a lot of people may put clothes, textiles in there. Of course, we don't want to put that in our single stream recycling, but we do have a market and a collection point for it here in the city, i.e. our drop-off centers, our West Park recycling centers, and our neighborhood depositories. Well, we have receptacles there to take textiles and clothes. We even see some batteries, household batteries. Okay, household batteries are not supposed to be placed in the green recycling carts, but we do have a market and a collection point over at our environmental service centers, where we do have vendors there that will purchase those materials from us. So they're not necessarily say recyclable in single stream, but they are recyclable materials.
And I think that's the point. People, they mean well, and they're saying it is recyclable,
Yes.
but not in the current
But
cart.
not in the
you
current
have to
single stream.
separate some of that stuff and
That's correct.
recycle it differently.
Yes, ma'am.
If we contaminate the load, have we, and contaminate by putting the wrong material in there, have we ruined the whole recycling process?
Well, it won't entirely ruin the process. Some of the materials will be salvageable, but the thing is, we want to make sure we segregate properly, because the more segregation and the more separation we have in the materials, it's going to help the commodity pricing when we bring it over to the MRF for processing.
Well, I want to talk to you more about that. I've brought some things out, so
Sure.
if you'll just hang around and stick with us for the whole show today.
I will.
More on the do's and don'ts on recycling when we return. Stay tuned. And we're back. I'm Sharon Moses, and you're watching Wasting No Time. The do's and don'ts of curbside recycling. That's what we're talking about today. When I have questions about recycling, Ed Zilton is the person I call. So I invited Ed here to talk to us about what we're doing right, what we're doing wrong, and why it's important to know the difference. Thanks again, Ed, for staying.
Sure.
So can all plastics be recycled?
Plastics that are recyclable are plastics numbers 1 through 5 and number 7s. Okay, and you can note those usually on the bottom of your plastic recyclable. It has a dancing triangles with the number in the middle of those triangles that identifies that for you.
Now let me ask you this: just because it has a number, does that number alone signify that we can put it in the green carts?
Yes, if it has a number and it has that number 1 through 5 or number 7, then it's safe to be put in our single stream
It doesn't
cart.
matter the shape or size.
Shape or size, no, ma'am.
Okay.
That's correct.
So actually the recycling industry, I think, is changing, because I know at some point when I first started that wasn't the case, but things are changing to where the numbers, they do matter and they're relevant enough to say it's recyclable.
Yes, that's correct.
And what about glass? I remember when I first started recycling, we had to separate clear, brown, green. Are we still doing that in the single stream?
Okay, now in single stream, we're not separating our clears from our browns and our greens, but we are still segregating those at our drop-off centers, because a clear brings a certain amount to the market, brown and green. There's a certain amount of paid or levels of payment in the value of those glasses depending on the color. But as for our single stream, we can go ahead and single stream them in all in one.
So if I'm at home recycling curbside, it doesn't matter. Just toss it in the cart. But if I'm going to take it somewhere, do I need to segregate it, or they'll segregate it at the center?
You can bring it in. They will segregate it at the facility for you. Now, if you go to our unmanned facilities, for instance, our neighborhood depositories, we have roll-off boxes there, but we have notes there that will direct you to where the material needs to be placed at.
And let's talk about that. If you curbside recycling, but if there's something that you don't put into the cart, but it is recyclable, how do I dispose of it? For instance, a household battery, or for instance, a can of paint.
Okay, when you talk about household batteries, cans of paint, whether it be lead-based or water-based, we can accept those over our Environmental Service Center. Environmental Service Center, as well as the West Park Recycling Facility. There we have specific type of storage, hazmat units there that we have to go through a process of segregating and storing those type of materials. We don't want to put those materials in our single stream, because those can compromise the value of, say, for instance, our newspaper print, our cardboard. So we want to keep those out of the single stream, but there are recyclable materials, and you can bring them to our drop-offs or the West Park Recycling
Hazardous
Center.
waste, I would think, would probably be a problem in those carts as well, right?
Absolutely, yes.
So you want to be careful about...
Yeah, you want to be careful to make sure the contents in that, because you can start fires and things like that with certain acidities that come from batteries and paint.
What about spacing of the carts? Now, I'm just going to throw that in there. It's slightly a different, but it's important, and we have that issue. Can you address that and how that affects the pickup?
Yeah, absolutely. Now that we are matching our green carts with our black carts, we have the same amount of material there, same amount of carts now that we've gone citywide. We ask that we do our standard 2 to 3 feet placing between the carts. We ask that you don't put the carts, either the green or black, in front of that, so when our operators come around, they can easily grab the cart, service the cart, and place it back for you conveniently without putting it in the wrong place or blocking the other car for servicing.
So space is important. That every other week you've got to make sure you put that space in between.
That's correct.
So that we can reach. What would you like the citizens to know? And you're a deputy assistant director. We call him Dad. So hi, Dad. But what would you like the citizens to know about recycling? You're on the street. You see what's going on. What would you tell them? What's important for them to know in your perspective?
I would think the most important thing is getting your car out to the curb on time. 7 o'clock prior the night before, making sure they're spaced properly. The next thing I would say, making sure you're putting the correct material in there. You're not overloading your carts, not putting trash inside of your recycling carts. These are all the things that I think educationally, over the course of time, we'll get there. I think we're on our way there. Houston has made great strides in that, but these are the kind of on-the-ground foot soldier things that we look for.
So how has the industry changed, the recycling industry, since you've been, I guess, over the division?
Yeah, over the time that I've been in recycling now, it's been a little bit over 11 years, I've seen some great changes in recycling. One from being where we've been collecting recycling on rear loaders to split bodies. Now we're fully automated. And that's one of the things, we've done all this without invoking an environmental fee or garbage fee. We found innovative ways to sell our commodities at markets through the MRFs. So we've seen big changes in that industry.
Are we heading toward zero waste? Is absolutely everything recyclable?
I think we are, like most major cities, we are targeting a zero waste, even down to taking shredded glass and put in our landfills to actually use as ground shred to beef up the land surfaces. When we first started, only probably 30-40% of materials that were taken in were considered recycling. Now 75 to 80% of those materials are considered to be recyclables.
Have you noticed a reduction in our garbage pickup?
We are doing that study right now. We're measuring the tonnage there to see. We should have some good physical data. Generally, after the first 90 days, kind of gives us a good feel to see how much recycling tons have gone up and then how much garbage tons have actually gone down.
Okay, so I want to come back to the next segment. I want to go through these products. One by one, you can tell me if it's recyclable and if it's not. You be willing to do that for me?
I sure will.
Great. Did you know over 75% of waste is recyclable? But we only recycle about 30% of it. In fact, in Texas, we spend over $1 billion annually for solid waste disposal services. So we are literally throwing our money away. This, of course, prompts me to say, don't throw it away, recycle it. We'll be right back. Do I recycle this? Can I recycle that? Who knows? That's why we're talking about it today. We get a lot of questions in the Community Outreach Division about what to and what not to recycle. Now, your questions are great questions, and I have to admit that a lot of you are doing it right. But some of us, well, let's just watch the show, shall we? So, Ed, we're back to you.
Yes.
Now, I have all these products out here. This is kind of like my home recycling, but I want to literally talk about it. And I'm a visual person. So if I take this, and this is plastic,
Yes.
I'm looking for a number. I see it's a 2. Is this recyclable?
Yes, that is a recyclable product that can go into our single stream.
Okay, so if I were to give this to you, the do's and don'ts of recycling, this is a yes.
Yes.
Where does it go?
This right here, this is a number 2. This is definitely recyclable, and it goes into our single stream recycling bin.
Size doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
Okay. Okay, let's talk about this. Clorox bleach. Is this any type of hazardous waste product?
It's not hazardous waste, and it's in its still form where it's been cleaned out. We do ask before you place it into your recycle bin that you just rinse any residue that's in the bottom, take it out of there.
So that's good to know. So if this is recyclable, but you want to rinse it out because of the chemical product
That's correct,
in it?
because it is a bleach product.
Okay,
Yes.
so this is yours.
Yes. This is recyclable. The dancing triangles at the bottom are number 2, HDPE. This is recyclable, and it can go in your single stream recycle bin.
Okay.
Right.
What about ammonia? Yet another chemical, right?
Yes.
Is this recyclable? And do I have to rinse it out like I do the bleach?
Yes, definitely. You definitely want to make sure anything that has any type of residue that may cause an injury, to eye injury, burning injuries, may contaminate the single stream. Again, rinse those out before you put them in your single stream recycle.
So if I'm at home, can I do the honors?
Sure.
Okay. Now, that's kind of like for my washroom. Let's talk about food. I've got this syrup bottle. It still has some syrup in it. You see that? And is this recyclable?
Yes, that is also a recyclable material.
Do I have to rinse the syrup out?
I would definitely, because one thing you want to think about, your recycle frequency is that it's bi-weekly. And then you're going to have this material probably in your garage or somewhere, and you don't want any vermins or roaches or anything like that to accumulate. So you want to make sure you get all those things out of the bottom.
So I have to rinse this out for more of my benefit than the city, right?
Absolutely. That's correct. So
But it is currently recyclable.
Yes, this is a recycled product, and it can be placed into your single stream recycle.
Okay. Medicine. Dayquil. This is medicine. Is it recyclable?
Yes, that's also recyclable. Yes, ma'am.
So, and do I need to rinse this out as well?
I would. Again, just want to make sure that you keep your recyclables as clean as possible for your benefit and for less contamination that may leak into other stuff.
Now, I want to talk about some plastic that might not be recyclable.
Okay.
Let's kind of switch gears a little bit. Because if I'm looking at the table, all this stuff here, that is currently recyclable, would you say?
Yes, that's correct.
Including the little tablet, little medicine bottle right there.
The medicine bottles, those are also
That's over-the-counter medicine.
over the counter. They also can be placed in our recycle because they are measured in that 1 through 5 that we talked about earlier.
What about this type of plastic here?
Okay.
Is this recyclable?
It's not truly a recycle, even though our water bottles, our HDP water bottles come in that, we kind of discourage wanting to recycle those, or as well as the plastic film bags, because with these plastic film bags, most people like to store them in there as they bring them to the drop-off, or even place them in the single stream. What happens when these type of materials, especially the film bags, get to the MRF doesn't hand sort. They do it either by conveyor belt, by people, and by machinery. There's an optical sort there that actually extracts a lot of materials off of the belt. What happens is this film bag is so flimsy, it gets extracted into the optical sort and clogs the optical sort up. Then that becomes a problem for the MRF as they go through their processing techniques on getting the material out to market. So what we've talked to a lot of our local retailers, the Targets, the Walmarts, places like that, and they'll be glad to take these from you as you bring these back. Or what you can do at the time of purchase, ask for a paper bag, and the paper bag will be easy enough to be placed into the single stream cart.
So this would not go into the cart?
This or this we would not want that into our cart.
Let me give you this. What would I do with this then if it's not recyclable?
If that's not recyclable, I would say take all of your water bottles out of that. The water bottles are recyclable in our single stream, and then we'll take that and place that over here to show our non-recyclable materials.
So take the bottles out.
Yes, that's correct.
Put them in the cart.
That's correct.
And then I guess you would take all of this
and
maybe
pour that
dump
content of that. Yes, correct.
Like that?
Yes, ma'am.
But you would keep this bag.
And you can return this material either back to your local grocer and where they'll take it at, or you can bring it back to any of the retailers. They'll be glad to take that back to you. And we'll place this stuff here, which are non-recyclables. We'll place those over here in the cart.
Do not recycle it.
Do not recycle.
Okay.
That's correct.
Medicine bottle.
Medicine bottle is a number 5, I think, on there. It's a number 4 or 5. They can be recycled. I would also warn that you take off your labeling with your information on it, type of medications, because that's just some confidential thing I think you want to make sure you keep to yourself.
And take the medicines out?
And the medicines out. Please don't put any medications in there. We don't want the DEA after us.
Okay. In the cart?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, I want to switch gears and talk about glass. All these glass bottles on the table are recyclable, right?
That's correct.
And we talked about when we're doing it at home curbside, there's no need to separate anything, just throw them in the cart.
Yes.
But I do have a question about this glass.
Okay.
Broken mirror.
That's a broken mirror. That's also considered a plate glass or a more of a porcelain type glass. We don't want to put that in our single stream recycling. Okay. That type of glass can be used in road-based and other type materials, but it's not we want to put that in our single stream. So that would not be recyclable.
Do not recycle this.
That's correct. All right, and we'll place that over in here and our do not.
Question about a candle. I had a candle in here, right? Still a glass. It's kind of sticky, and it's got some candle wax residue. Can I recycle it?
That can be recycled. Okay, it's a jar, it's a glass. You know, if you have a lot of content from your candle left in there, I would ask that you remove that out of it. The discoloration from the fire or anything, that doesn't have anything to do with it. The smell, that's fine. But that also can be recycled in our single stream, along with our regular glass jars, wine bottles, or beer bottles.
And for obvious reasons, I will not drop this in the cart.
No, we don't want to do that.
But it is recyclable.
Yes, it is.
Okay. I want to talk about this new product here. At least it's new to us.
Yes.
We didn't recycle this a while back, and we've only started doing this recently.
That's correct.
What is it called?
That packaging there is called an aseptic packaging. The aseptic packaging is what you generally have. It's kind of have the tent top, or sometimes you see the muscle milk where it has the fold top on it. This has a waxy type outer and also a waxy inner. This particular has probably been in our waste stream a little bit over a year now that we've been taking aseptic packaging. We've worked with the MRF. They've found an in market for it, and so it's now available because most of your newer type of materials and foods are in this type of aseptic packaging. So it is good, and it is proper to put into the single stream.
Is there a requirement to rinse it out, or is it just?
Yeah, if you're going to have the milk, like the almond milks or the orange juices and things, again, I would definitely clean that out before placing it in my recycle bin.
I want to talk about something like this. I'm going to go back to a little plastic because I think we have an issue with plastics. So I'm going to bounce around a little bit. Should this go in our recycling cart, Ed?
No, I would not put any type of those into the plastic bags in here. Again, it kind of resembles the film bag, and you don't want to put that as a content in there. I would say if you have these, you can also return these to your local grocers, or you'd have to find other ways to actually dispose of this.
So if you don't, you can just throw it away.
Yeah,
that is literally, this is garbage.
Yeah,
it's not recycling.
It's not going to be recyclable.
Where would it go?
This would be over here in our content that we have over here, our non-recyclable items.
I'm going to kind of move around and grab some stuff that all this on the table is recyclable.
Yes, everything.
You see the tin cans, and is that also an aseptic? What does it say that for me?
Aseptic packaging.
I have trouble with that. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Aseptic packaging. That word right there. Okay, so that one is recyclable.
Yes, that's correct.
All that looks good.
Yeah, everything.
If you see it on the table, it can be recycled.
That's correct.
Let's go with this. What about this?
Okay, aerosol cans. We found a lot of that in our audits. We don't like to recycle those. One being that when the truck picks that material up, and that stuff can actually go into when the guys pack the material in there, that has some air content that can explode, can cause fires. So we try to keep those out of our trucks.
Yeah, I was doing that. So even it was kind of coming out, but even if I shake it, I can still hear it.
Yeah,
so like that air content is still in there, even though it's empty, and people don't realize it. So don't put this in the cart.
Don't put this in a single stream. Now, although again, this can be taken over to the Environmental Service Center. People even bring their cooking propane tanks, the empty propane tanks, kind of similar to these. You can bring those over there, and there's also a market for that. But we don't want it placed in our single stream.
Do not put it in the cart.
That's correct.
How about this? Is this recyclable?
That is a recyclable item, although it does not have the dancing triangles on it. This particular item is a rigid, and it's actually a number 5. It is recyclable.
Okay.
Okay.
I thought I'd put this together. Chick-fil-A, drinking here, probably one of my lunch days or something.
Right.
Food containers, are they recyclable?
Food containers, if the number 2 is on the bottom of that, it is recyclable. Now, if it is in the clamshell, which is kind of similar to what you have in your cup here, then those are not to be placed in a single stream.
Okay.
Now, those are number 7s. Those number 7s are recyclable, but again, not in single stream. But we do have a process over at the West Park Recycling Facility where you can drop those materials off, and they can be recycled there.
Why, Ed? Why?
Well,
why? I mean, I'm just an average citizen. And all I want to do is my civil duty and recycle.
Right.
What's the difference?
Well, it compromises, again, the material of the content of the material and the value of the grade of the material. We have a densifier. It's set up as it's called a styrofoam densifier at the recycling center. That material actually takes that, it compresses it down to 81 ratio. We like to keep those separate because that's a whole separate market. These things are sold and made. You can make anything from railroad ties to picture frames.
Wow.
So we like to keep that material and keep its own value there. When you start to put a lot of the pliable and pliable things in here, once it's dumped, it's automated dump. Once it's done, we don't want that stuff flying around the neighborhoods or contaminating or dirty neighborhoods up. So we like to have that in a controlled environment where we can actually recycle it for you.
So here.
Yes.
What are you going to do with those?
These right here, not in a single stream, but we do have an outlet for it at the West Park Recycling Center. Okay.
So do not put them in the carts.
Yes.
Put them over there. Alrighty. I want to talk about pizza. We were talking about food. Can you grab that box there? Now, we have 2 boxes. 2 pizza boxes.
Yes.
This one is recyclable, yes? Is this recyclable?
That is also recyclable. Even though you may have a little grease on here, as long as you get most of the content out of it, it can be recycled because it's considered a chipboard. And a chipboard is a lower grade of a cardboard. And so the chipboard is same darker, browner colors, but it is considered to be recyclable, and you can place that in your
Okay, so
single
now I'm mad because when we go out, we tell the citizens don't recycle the pizza boxes.
You can't. It can be placed in there as long as we remove all the food content.
So this is one of the changes in the
that we
industry.
can do. Yes,
and we
that's
can now
correct.
recycle both of these boxes
Together, yes.
as long as there's no pizza in it.
No pizza, please, no
Okay.
pizza.
All right.
Okay.
Guess I won't be mad because I'd rather recycle. Here are two egg cartons.
Okay.
Which one is recyclable?
The one in your left hand is the recyclable one that we can place in here and the single stream recycling because, again, it's very closely and complicated to our chipboard.
Okay.
The other ones are more of a styrofoam content, number 7, which is just like the Chick-fil-A we talked about, which is not supposed to be in here, but we can actually take care of that over at the West Park Recycling Center.
So here.
Okay, and we'll do this. We'll switch that up. This is a recyclable material, which will go into our single stream. This is a non-recyclable for single stream, but it can be taken and done over here at the West Park Recycling.
I think that's a key point, and I like that you made that point. It's an issue about single stream, what is and what is not recyclable in single stream.
That's correct.
So as we're changing the industry, we still have to consider what our end users are taking. Is that right?
Absolutely.
What about diapers? I don't have any diapers. But
Diapers is are a big no-no for single stream. You want to leave that in your black garbage cans. Please do not put that in the single stream because that
diapers are
compromises.
absolutely garbage.
That's garbage. Yes.
And then what about hangers? I got
hangers?
these hangers right here.
Hangers, we get quite a bit of these. We find them in here. We don't want them in our single stream.
Okay.
But your little local cleaners will be glad to take those back to you, and they recycle and reuse those over at most of your local cleaners.
Okay, what about my dry cleaner bag?
Dry cleaner bags are the same as, they treat the same as film bags. We want to keep those out of our single stream sort, but you can bring it back to your local cleaners. Once you take your clothes out of them, you can take them. I bring mine back all the time, and they're well to do it.
And then finally, styrofoam. I have to ask, can we put this styrofoam in our carts?
Big no-no.
Okay, why?
Okay, this right here, both of these products are very pliable and pliable. Once they get to moving and shaking, and when these guys are coming down with automated arms, they can be broken, sharp, pieced everywhere, and then you're going to have a lot of mess all in your neighborhood. That's why we actually take this block styrofoam right here, can be taken over to the West Park. We dump it in our densifier. It comes out into compressed blocks, and it's sold on an open market.
What about these little pellets here?
Peanuts, I would say you need to probably take these little guys back to your UPS stores or in your packing stores because they'll be glad to get these back to recycle those in that manner.
Okay.
If you put these in a recycle cart, again, they're going to be flying all over the place in your neighborhoods. And then if you bring it to West Park, what happens at West Park, it's not enough density in these peanuts, like this styrofoam block, that it doesn't densify enough to make a block. So we even put these on the sides, and we have the guys come back from the packing companies and get them from us.
Okay, sounds good. And then finally, I'm going to ask you this. We're going to wrap it up. Shredded paper. I got to open this up so people can see it.
Right.
Do we take that in the recycling?
Shredded paper, we don't want it in here. Again, it's a type of material that will fly all over the place. Once the guy hits the lid off and he dumps it in the paper, you're going to have contamination all over your neighborhood.
Well, thank you so much for all this information, Ed. We appreciate your time.
Well, thanks for having me, Sharon. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you for staying tuned in. We hope this information will be helpful to you in your recycling efforts, but if you still have questions, please call us at 311 or visit our website at www.houstonsolidwaste.org. And don't forget about our Facebook page. Reach out and give us a thumbs up at Houston Solid Waste. We're on Twitter at Houston Trash. I'm Sharon Moses, wasting no time getting to you so we all can recycle correctly. See you next time.